Today's show is brought to you by Martinez Drywall. Around here, you don't gamble on who's going to finish your project. You go with a proven team. Martinez Drywall has built their reputation on reliability, craftsmanship, and a promise that they'll always make it right for the customer. From remodels to new constructions, they've got you covered. Martinez Drywall, where the house always wins, and so do you.
And odds, that's our deal. From underdogs to favorites, we break it down. Empty Field Podcast, the talk of the town. Empty Field, where we lay it all out. Breaking down games, removing all doubt. Interviews with stars, we're bringing the heat. Sports news and odds, talk that can't be beat.
Welcome to another episode of the Empty Field Podcast. My name is Mathew Hansen, and today we have a MMA fighter out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Tyler Kirkpatrick. Tyler, how are you?
Doing great, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, The reason I have you on is to help promote Fight for 25. But first of all, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Tyler Kirkpatrick. 33 years old, fighting out of Charlotte, North Carolina, with Highest MMA. Started my amateur career at 21, had my first fight. Did 10 amateur fights, went pro beginning of this year. Had my first pro fight. It was going well, but things happened. I got caught, took an L. So trying to get back in there in October and get my first one as a pro.
What got you into MMA?
There was always just a weird interest. Like I was always one of those kids that really was into like Bruce Lee and stuff like that. Obviously was like an anime kid, just really interested in just like watching movies. I was like, just fast forward the fight scene. I just want to see the fight scene. It was always an interest. I never really connected that like I wanted to be a fighter. I started doing like some Kempo karate as a kid, liked it, but I was just looking for more context. It was just kind of karate style. Started doing sports, ended up figuring out that I was a pretty athletic kid, did well in sports, tried different things, but nothing was really scratching that itch. And I had a buddy who in high school started training at Highest, and he was telling me about it, and he fought amateur, and the whole time I was just kind of like intrigued, like, man, that's so interesting. It's kind of like I made in my head, like, I'd love to just do the walk to the cage one day just to try it. And, I lived life, did time in the military, got out, and just kind of, once I got my money right, I was like, you know what, let me train. So then I started training, and then, I figured that I was kind of picking up pretty quick. I was like, I can maybe try this. So I was like, let me do the walk. Let me try it out. Took my first fight, and then kind of just fell in love with it from there,
How was that? How was that first walk?
Honestly, I thought I was going to be weirdly a lot more nervous than I was, and that's what scared me. It was like I felt weirdly calm, and then just kind of went through it, just kind of went through the process. I ended up losing my first fight, but I was doing really well, and just kind of like refs kind of stop stuff pretty quick, if it looks bad, and just kind of got stopped and whatever. But after that, I was like, man, I want to get back in there and get a win. It became addicting. It was more of just wanting to challenge myself each time. So, it wasn't like, oh, let's try it and that'd be it. So once after I tried it, I was like, I like this and I want to keep doing it.
Who was that first pro fight with?
My first pro fight was with what was his name? Brandon Eldridge, the fourth. Yeah, that was my first pro fight, and that was, I think, March of earlier this year.
Yep, March 15th this year. It was a round 1 KO or TKO.
Yeah. He caught me with a nice uppercut in the first round. That's right.
And then you've had two fights, one in June and one in September that were canceled. So let's hope this one doesn't get canceled.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of just been bad luck. I know that my opponent for the first fight, he had a family member passed away, so I don't I don't feel bad. I'm not blaming anything on him. That happens. It just happened. The funeral was on a hard fight, so it got canceled. And so then I got ready for the next one. I don't know the deal with this last guy. It was like the week before, and he was just like he couldn't do it, so it just got canceled. And as soon as it did, we're just like, hey, let's just hop on that fight for a card as soon as possible. I'm ready to fight. I've been in camp pretty much all year. I'm ready to fight. Let's do it.
This is your second pro fight? Yeah.
Second pro fight, yeah.
And how did you and Jacob land on each other? Like, hey, let's take this together.
We fought. He was actually my last amateur fight. My last amateur fight in December of last year, and it was It was a great fight, man. We just went back and forth, but at the end of it, I felt like, you know, I had won the fight, and there's a lot of people that agreed. And, you know, it was kind of a, you know, one of those things where, like, did he, you know, whatever. It was arguable, but, you know, he ended up getting the win. And you know, we always talked about it'd be nice to run it back. And we've always just kind of, you know, friendly. You know, there's not any animosity, just kind of chit chatting since then. And, you know, we both kind of started our pro career on the same time. He ended up fighting actually my teammate for his last amateur career. And you know, it just, after all these things canceled, you know, all these fights got canceled, he just was on social media. And I don't know, I think he had a fight lined up too, but it might have fell out as well. So we were just like, shoot, you want to hop on that October card and run it back where it really matters as pros? And we both kind of agreed, you know?
Because it was a decision. You think it was the other way around? It should have been you?
Yeah, at the time I felt like I won that fight. But, you know, looking back, I watched it, I could see the things that the judges saw to give it to him. It's just kind of a matter of what you see, what do you value more in a fight? But it's like, all right, cool. You know, I went back to the drawing board. I tried to fix a lot of just amateur errors I was making that I think that lost me that fight. But I want to run it back with more fine-tuned fighting experience.
Yeah. Tell us about your first career fight. What nerves did you have going into it, and how did you manage it?
My first amateur fight? Yeah, well, that was the weird thing is I was waiting for the nerves, and they didn't really hit me like I thought they were. So I was weirdly calm for my first fight. But I would say my second fight, I think it kind of just like what I was doing was, you know, I was taking it seriously. The first time I went to fight, I was like, I just want to try it, you know. So it wasn't as much nerves as I was hoping, or at least thought it was going to have, because everyone says you get nervous and it helps you fight better. So, but my second fight, I definitely started to feel those nerves, and then just, it's all mental, just learning to manage it from there. You know, you can either accept the voice in your head and let them defeat you, or you can just say, shut up, man, I got this, you know?
Like you said, you're 33. What are your goals in MMA here?
You know, while I still have some youth, you know, I know I'm a little bit late to the game. You know, just want to fight as much as I can, be as active as I can as an athlete, gain as much experience, obviously have as best of a pro career as I can. But then I'd like to turn around and, you know, just become a coach, you know, help build a school, maybe open up my own gym one day in kind of my area, and just kind of keep building community from there. You know, I'm kind of, you know, addicted to this stuff. I love it. You know, I want to stay in the community as long as I can.
Oh, for sure. Have you ever thought about walking away from MMA? But what has kept you in it?
No, I've never thought about walking away. I mean, there's definitely been like the doubts when you take a hard loss, and I've gotten like some injuries that are questionable. You know, it was like, you know, some people would, you know, like one time I got my arm dislocated in an amateur fight, and there's a lot of people would be like, hey, man, maybe you should stop this. But there's always something that made me want to keep getting back in there. I think it's just the challenge, you know. If it's something's hard, there's really something about me that really just wants to try it and overcome it. You know,
Yeah.
I like to try and consider myself a problem solver, something I enjoy doing. So with, you know, with the challenge of just keep pushing through the hard parts and whatnot, whether you take a loss or a win, it's kind of addicting. I kind of enjoy it, you know.
Cool. So when October 25th comes, how do you prepare mentally and physically for that fight? Do you listen to a favorite song, a favorite artist?
I mean, I'm always listening to a lot of music. I would say the weird thing that I start doing when I'm getting closer to fights is obviously the training ramps up all the time, you know. You got to keep your cardio up in training. So that's never stopping. But when I'm taking I would say my rest, when I'm letting myself heal up, the one thing I like to do is just play really hard video games. Like I'm really into like the Soulsborne games, like Dark Souls. So something about sitting down and doing really difficult style games where I have to problem solve helps me focus and stay in line instead of sitting there and think about the fact that I got a fight coming up. You know, I got to get half naked and fight in front of all these people in my hometown. You know what I'm saying? Like something about just sitting down and locking in, like, all right, let me get through this boss real quick. Just helps me not think about it and still stay mentally alert and ready and on my toes. You know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Does your training change from opponent to opponent, or does it stay the same every fight, no matter what it is?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Does your training change for opponent, or is it just straight across the board?
We'll obviously, like, if we know we're fighting somebody, we'll kind of look at their fighting style and kind of alter, like, what do we think is gonna be the best way to go about this. You know, it's not just go in there and do the same game plan every single time, because we know that someone's going to have strength somewhere and someone's going to have weakness somewhere. It's like, I like to fight smart if I can, you know, let me chip away at where you're weak, or, you know, where I think I'm going to break you. So we always alter a little bit of the game plan. I mean, the training stays pretty much the same. It's always ramping up the intensity every single time, but there may be certain things that we focus on a little bit more for a certain camp based on who we're fighting, you know. But we do take a lot of short notice things sometimes, and sometimes you can't prepare like that. So we just try to stay ready for the most part.
Perfect. You've trained and fought you've trained and fought against Jacob before. What will be different going into this camp and this fight?
Because I fought him before, I already know some of the things that I did that were good and also just weren't really great for the game plan at the time. So, you know, coming into it with more knowledge, obviously, one thing that's always a question is how the person's going to feel, you know, how strong are they, whatnot. So it's like, unless he's, you know, gotten super strong or something within the, you know, past year, you know, I expected to kind of have a feeling of what it's going to feel like being in there with him. You know, but regardless, we've just been preparing for a better version, what I would think of what we had last time, and just coming in and mixing it up as well, you know.
If you could give advice for anybody on the road into the fighting world, what advice would you give them?
I would say, well, on the road is a good point. If you're starting as an amateur, I would say try to get out of your hometown, compete as much as possible. Go to states where you're not going to be known, where you're going to be, you know, technically the bad guy to find the hometown guy. I'd just say stay active and travel and compete as much as possible, because the more you make that walk as an amateur, the more you're going to get used to all the mentality of it. By the time you become a pro, you're going to feel a lot more used to it. So I'd say stay active and travel for competition.
For the walkout, do you guys get to pick your own little song, or is it just whatever they give you?
No, they always ask us ahead of time, like, what do you want to walk out to? And unless you forget to send them, and then they're going to pick it for you.
What do we got for the 25th? What do we got?
I think I already sent it in. What did I say? I'm gonna come out to Purple Lamborghini by Rick Ross and Skrillex. So mixing it up. I always do
Purple
something.
Lamborghini. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. I think you'll recognize it if you hear it.
So this is my favorite question to ask a fighter. So the 25th is coming up shortly. You got Jacob again. What kind of trash talk are you gonna give him? Get it off your chest. What do we got?
Man, honestly, I'm like, I'll match energy, you know. If you're not talking shit, I'm not talking shit. If you want to talk shit, we can talk shit. I've never been more, you know, about like all that rah-rah stuff. But I mean, like I said, the most part, like, we've always been respectful of each other. We know we got to get in there and do what we got to do, but I don't know. I don't think it hasn't been like that yet. You know, if he starts chirping at me, I'll chirp back. It's nothing to me.
Perfect. Well, this is my first Fight for It event that I'll be going down and actually seeing you guys. I am, me and the wife are going down there, so
Yeah.
we'll be cage side. So we'll definitely be looking out for you. Do you have a prediction for the fight? Will it go to decision? Will it be a first round knockout?
You never know, man. You know, obviously you're looking for the finish, but I'm preparing for 15 minutes of a war, man. I hope his cardio's good. Let's just say that.
Perfect. Well, Tyler, I appreciate you coming on. I'll definitely be seeing you down in North Carolina. And I'm hoping for a win for you. We'll be cheering you on.
Appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah.
Where the action's real, sports news and odds, that's our deal. From underdogs to favorites, we break it down.